In this episode, we speak with one of SAW's managers to learn more about the programs they offer at their various adult activity centers around Northeast Ohio, right after this. You're listening to SAW Talks, the go-to podcast for issues concerning Northeast Ohio's community of adults with developmental disabilities. Hi, I'm Kathy with SAW's marketing team, and I want to welcome you to another episode of SAW Talks. In our past episodes, we've discussed SAW's mission to help every individual reach his or her full potential. And this work mainly occurs at one of SAW's 6 adult activities centers, which are located all around Northeast Ohio. So to learn more about what happens in these centers, we're speaking with Karen Fifelski, who leads SAW's Parma location. So welcome, Karen. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Kathy. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about SAW.
Absolutely. I'm excited to learn more. And maybe a good place to start would be a little about your background. I understand you've been doing this for some time. When did you decide that you wanted to work with adults with developmental disabilities?
Long time ago, I worked at a summer camp for children and adults with disabilities when I was in high school, and I absolutely loved it. And from then on, I never really wanted to do anything else. So I got my degree in special education and was hired by the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities as a teacher, and eventually moved on to be an instructor and a supervisor and a manager in their adult program. I've been managing adult activity centers for the last 18 years. At the end of 2019, the county board privatized their programs. And when CCBDD privatized, I was hired by SAW to manage Parma Adult Activity Center.
Awesome. Yes. And here you are. But I love your story about how you really fell in love with your work when you were younger. I know when I was speaking with Judy, SAW CEO, she also determined that she really loved working with this population at an early age. So I just think that's so wonderful. What do you think is most rewarding or gratifying about what you do?
It's the people. They are some of the most wonderful people that I've ever met. They have such unique interests and talents. And what I like best about the job is just getting to know people and developing relationships with them. I like finding out what they like, what's important to them, developing connections with them, and then helping them pursue what interests them. It's amazing. I have some people that I talk to about wrestling, and somebody else is into royalty and Queens and James Bond movies. But
Nice.
to have a little connection with people where you know what they really like, and it helps you to make a connection and develop a relationship.
That's so wonderful. And I'm sure, over time, a lot of these relationships have really grown as you continue to work with individuals, through their lifetime.
These are lifetime friends. Actually, some of the people that I knew at summer camp when they were 5 and I was 15, I still see at the Adult Activity Center. So these are lifetime friends.
That's so wonderful. Wow. I'm sure, they really learn and grow to trust in you.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like about working for SAW in particular? How do you feel like it may be different than other providers?
I think the best part about us is we have great staff. They are conscientious in taking care of people. They're creative, they're hard workers, and they really, really maintain the welfare of the people that they're supporting as their highest priority. Having good staff really is the key to providing good services.
Right. And I know a lot of your staff is very experienced. I mean, they've been doing this type of work for, quite a while, as you have, correct?
Yes, and you had asked how SAW is different from other providers. SAW has a long history of supporting people with developmental disabilities. Before they became a private provider in 2020, they were the nonprofit partner of the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities for 50 years. So they handled the business part of the work that was done in the activity centers, getting the jobs, doing the time studies, doing the payroll. And I think this affiliation with the board has really given SAW a firm foundation as a service provider, so that when CCBDD privatized, SAW was selected to provide services in 6 of their buildings. So many veteran CCBDD staff came to work for SAW, and we have beautiful, well-equipped buildings and experienced staff. So that's a really good foundation for good services.
Absolutely, definitely important factors. And so you mentioned, the quality buildings. Let's talk about those adult activities centers. So you're at SAW's Parma location,
Yes.
but SAW does have six facilities around Northeast Ohio. So maybe start, by telling me a little bit about what kind of activities are you able to offer at these centers? What can people choose from?
Okay. And the buildings themselves were designed, either built from the ground up or renovated to be able to meet people's needs. So each building, and we're talking Rocky River, Parma, Maple Heights, Beechwood, East Cleveland, and Euclid, each one has what we call a workshop floor area, an open area where work and sometimes other activities are done. Each site also has self-contained classrooms where people who have higher needs for support are able to have their needs met. And we basically offer two services. We offer adult day supports, which are activities, and vocational habilitation, which is work and work training.
Okay. Yes, I mean, that really is a differentiator that these buildings were meant for these purposes. And so you really have the space you need to serve a variety of individuals where maybe other providers don't have those separate classrooms to really help, the more medically fragile or physically involved population. So that's definitely a differentiator. You mentioned activities. What kind of activities are they able to participate in?
Okay, so people have the opportunity to participate in a variety of either group activities, individual activities, activities in the community. So group activities or classes could include things like current events, safety, self-determination classes. And then we have things like jazzercise and Tai Chi. We had gone out into the community for those classes. Right now, we're doing them by Zoom. Arts and crafts, walking, karaoke, individual activities. We have iPads and puzzles, writing, books, magazines, and then people go out into the community. Things like bowling, going to parks, zoos, museums, shopping, volunteering. It really just depends on what the individuals are interested in, what they would like to do, where they would like to go.
I love that. Like you mentioned, the individual that was into wrestling and they all have these different interests. So that's great that SAW is able to cater to those interests. And the other thing that's neat about the activities you described is, some of them are recreational and fun, like crafts, and some of them are good for health and fitness, like jazzercise. But then you also mentioned things that are really important to individual, safety, and just developing personal development. And I think that really goes back to SAW's mission to help every individual, reach his or her full potential and understand those things, world events. So it's not just giving them something to do, but to really push them to the best that they can be. So speaking, about that, um, if someone chooses to go the vocational habilitation route, what does that involve? What does their day look like?
Vocational habilitation includes opportunities for paid work, and in our centers, it's primarily assembly and packaging type jobs where individuals are paid at a piece rate. They also have training in work skills and soft skills, so they're not only learning how to do the specific job, but they're learning skills like working with other people, accepting directions, being on time, hopefully to prepare people for potential jobs in the community. And then vocational habilitation also includes going out into the community to look at different jobs and to see what's involved in them. So people will go on trips. They might go to Krispy Kreme donuts and they're watching to see what is the person at the counter doing, and do they have to wear a uniform, and are they wearing a hairnet? So they go and they look at different jobs and see what's involved and try to decide if that's something that they might be interested in doing. So all of those things are involved in vocational habilitation.
I love the variety of services and choices that people have within that. Being able to go on site and actually see somebody do work, that they, may think that they might be interested in. I know in our previous podcast, we talked with Alyssa, who was at the Beechwood Center, and she was talking all about peace work and how she loved, making money. And I think it's wonderful that these individuals are able to earn money and that obviously meant a lot to her, give them a sense of purpose and worth and really be able to, develop some really wonderful skills, like you said, working in a group setting and behavioral skills and things like that too. So two really awesome options.
Some people can choose to receive both services. Some people choose to receive vocational habilitation services 2 or 3 days a week, and then on the other 2 or 3 days, participate in activities in adult day supports. So it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah, it's nice to have that flexibility. So in that way, you're really catering to the individual's interests and abilities. So that's wonderful for them to be able to, kind of do a little bit of both if that's what they want.
Mm-hmm. It's all about choice.
All about choice.
It really is. And that really is the philosophy. It's person-centered planning. It's about choice. What we do is driven by what the individuals want. So it's our job to find out what they want and to support them to do that.
So, I'm sure that comes easier to some people than others. So how do you go about working with, obviously the parents are involved or the family and the individuals to ensure they're getting involved in like the right programs and activities for them?
It's really all about getting to know the person. So we try to find out what the person likes. And sometimes you just try things to see if the person likes them. A lot of times you don't know if somebody likes something until they try it. So giving people an opportunity to try something. If they like it, then they can do more of it. If they don't, we'll try something else. As part of our planning process, people complete an interest inventory. So at least every year and often throughout the year, people are asked about different things. Would you like to do this? Are you interested in arts and crafts? Do you like exercise, animals? And so we actually have as part of the person's plan what they're interested in, and that is supposed to drive the kinds of things that we do.
So they don't have to know right away. And even while they're there, they can make the decision to change to something else.
For sure.
Ultimately just wanting them to be happy and thriving and do what's best for them and what they enjoy. So I know, when we're recording this podcast, we are still in, the midst of a pandemic. And I know that, SAW had to close the centers for a while, but still was able to do some virtual activities. But since then, the centers have reopened and you're welcoming people back. So why do you think that it's important for individuals to be physically present at the centers? What can't they gain so much when they're at home?
I think it's important for people to get out, even if it's just for a change of setting and to be able to spend time with different people. A lot of the people who come here are very social. I think they come just as much for the interaction and the relationships as they do for the work and the activities. And being physically present gives people opportunities to socialize. There's a lot of camaraderie here and just the stimulation. Even when people aren't actively involved, we have a lot of people watchers. They like watching and listening to other people. And I think that helps people maintain their stamina and their alertness. That's a lot harder to do at home.
It is. This is like so much of their social interaction, as you said. And I know in our previous podcast, and if people haven't listened to that, we interview a parent and then an individual at the center, Alyssa as well. And I know the parent, Toby, was saying that she had picked her daughter up and asked if her daughter wanted to go to lunch. And her daughter said that she had packed a lunch and told her mom basically that seeing her friends was more important than having lunch with her mom, which her mom understood. And it just really speaks to the fact that she was so happy there and had this, social group that was very important to her and she missed out on, while the centers were closed. So I think that's such an important point. It's just so much of their lives.
That's the best part for all of us.
Yes, definitely. You're getting to know people and develop wonderful relationships. And so as the centers are reopened, I know you're taking a lot of steps to stay safe. I mean, of course, starting with masks and temperature checks, among other things.
We have a number of safety protocols in place, And these are all based on guidance from the Ohio Department of Health and the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. As you mentioned, everyone is supposed to wear a mask or face covering. We have a symptom monitoring checklist. When people come in, we take their temperatures, ask or observe to see if they have any symptoms. People are staying in cohorts of up to 12 right now. So people are staying with the same group of people throughout the day. And that really does help to limit contacts. Each group has an assigned entrance, exit, a specific restroom that they use. We're trying to support social distancing. Each person has their own table. The tables are at least 6 feet apart. So just the way the areas are set up, people aren't sharing materials for activities. People each have a bin with their materials. So there are a lot of precautions in place and a lot of sanitizing that goes on. Tables, chairs, high touch surfaces. People are washing their hands and using hand sanitizer frequently. And the staff are providing instruction. They're doing safety classes and reminders and watching videos about COVID safety. And they're reminding people throughout the day, your mask is slipping, you need to stay away. No hugging, we can wave.
That's the hard one.
That's the hardest part. No hugging, no high fives, but we can wave and we can blow kisses. So I have one guy that blows kisses at me when I walk by.
Oh.
Doesn't get much better than that.
No, definitely not. I know that, SAW's working really hard to keep everybody safe, and not only the individuals, but the staff, and then everybody's families too. They have people going to the centers. Right. So I know that's definitely a priority for them. But do you find that you still get parents who are hesitant to send their child back?
Yes, and quite understandably, we have parents who themselves are in at-risk age groups, and they can't take a chance on their family member coming home and perhaps bringing something to them. So that's a big concern for them.
Yeah, of course, it's their choice, and I think everybody is understandable of that. But what do you say to them to reassure them that SAW is doing everything to keep everyone safe, as much as possible, and then why it's important for their individual to be there rather than sitting at home?
Well, first I make sure I let them know that I understand what a difficult decision this is. Many of the individuals want to come back, and the families will tell us, they're getting their lunch bag and they're saying, I want to go back. But obviously they want people to be safe. They have concerns about individuals' health and their own as well. So I tell them about all the safety protocols and all the things that we have in place, and that we've been able to keep people healthy and safe since we reopened in July. So we have a good track record. I let them know that we're doing everything within our control to minimize the risk. And personally, I think that it's much safer to come here than it is to go to the store. And then I tell families, ultimately, it's their decision. They need to decide what's best for them and their families. And when the time is right, we'll welcome people back.
Absolutely. It's, you can just provide the information, and then of course they have to, make their own decision. But I do wish there was someone in the stores telling people to wear their mask properly. And I know that is something that SAW is doing. So I know you're working really hard to maintain all those protocols. So, I want to thank you so much for being here, Karen. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing all your insight and for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening. If you do have other questions about SAW, if you think that it may be a good fit for your individual for the first time, and you have questions about enrolling or engaging with one of the programs or other activities, you can contact SAW directly or your support administrator. And you can learn more about SAW by visiting sawinc.org and following SAW on Facebook and LinkedIn. So feel free to leave us a comment. We want to know your questions. If you like what you hear, you can subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to SAW Talks. Stay up to date with our latest episodes by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Like what you hear? Share this episode and leave us feedback. We look forward to hearing from you.